Traveling the Vortex.
We've joined the Doctor as he travels the Vortex and arrive at episode 576. How Diddly-Deet You? I'm Keith.
I'm Sean.
I'm Glenn.
How's it going, guys?
Pretty good. Everybody have a nice
have a good Christmas?
Yes.
I'm having a very strange craving for baby.
Oh.
You remind me of the babe. What babe?
Power.
Did you guys get any fun Doctor Who related Christmas gifts? We know that Keith did.
Well, yes.
Just tonight.
Sean got me an awesome mug that says Wibbly Wobbly Coffee Waffy. And then on the other side, it's bigger on the inside. Along with a thing of coffee. And Glenn got me a very awesome Firefly Shiny Dice board game that I'm looking forward to try out at some point. Along with a game called Left, Center, Right Dice Game that hopefully I can play soon.
Well, that was nice of him.
Yeah.
It was nice.
Nice of both of you guys. Thank you.
Keith got me a Geeky Tiki, which was the Mickey Mouse mug. And we talked a little bit about this last year because he got me the Dalek one last year. And then Sean got me, I know what it is. I wanted to read it for perfect. The Magical World of Disney Trivia game, which is very cool.
Probably stuff you already know.
Well, that's okay. I can
you
dominate
should be
trivia
really-
in this one too.
Wipe the floor with everyone.
Is it that way at your house?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Sometimes
we got all these.
People won't play games with me because, especially ones that I know really well.
Yeah, we have all these movie trivia games, and nobody wants to play them. And I'm like, I will referee. I don't even have to be on a team.
Right?
And they're like, no.
I'll ask the questions. Come on.
Let me be the Alex Trebek. Now we're going to play something else. Okay. Well, speaking of games, Glenn got me a very cool an adventure game by Prospero Hall, The Goonies, Never Say Die, which is a Funko game, and it kind of looks like a role-playing set. I wonder if he's trying to hint at something, that he's chomping at the bit to roll some dice. I don't know, maybe.
We had a lot of fun.
Last one.
We had a lot of fun with that one last
We did.
week. Yeah.
I would have thought after that one he would have run for the hills, but maybe this was already wrapped. And then I also got a Geeky Tiki from Keith. Mine is of a Rocketeer.
Sweet.
And it is cool. Thank you both.
Yes.
You're very welcome.
Among my other Doctor Who gifts, I got a Magic the Gathering Universes Beyond Doctor Who Commander deck, the one with the past Doctors, so the Blast from the Past set, which has all the original Doctors up until 8 and several companions. I'll tell you, the set's really cool, and I'm looking forward to play it, although I've got to find somebody else with a Commander deck so that I can play it, because the nice thing about the Commander decks is it's a deck ready to play. So it's already put together for you, and you can right out of the gate play. But you have to have somebody else with a deck or a Commander deck in order to play it. So I've just been ogling the pictures. But the crazy thing about it is there are some pictures in here that are really questionable. Their likenesses are nothing. There'll be some like, I think the 4th Doctor is pretty good. 10th Doctor is pretty good. There's a little bit of a weird, slight something about him, I'm not sure. But then you'll get somebody like Romana too, who looks absolutely nothing like Romana too. So it's kind of weird. I don't know if it was a likeness issue. Maybe they couldn't get the likeness rights for some people. But and then I got the Cybermen, that big Ultimate comic strip collection from the pages of Doctor Who magazine, Cybermen. So it's all the collected Cybermen comics from Doctor Who magazine over the years, which was really cool. And then the other Doctor Who related thing, I got some books and some other games, but the other Doctor Who related game that I got, was a game called Race to the TARDIS, which is a board game, and I don't necessarily know if I think you are playing as one of the incarnations of the Doctor. Everybody is. And your TARDIS has been scattered across time and space, and you have to go around the board trying to collect the 3 different pieces of the TARDIS that are to get your TARDIS working again. So that's kind of cool.
Oh, that sounds cool. Let us know how that game is. Sounds fun.
Yeah. How about you guys? Any other Doctor Who or geeky things you got?
I got Doctor Who blankets, a new fuzzy blanket, and then I got some Doctor Who socks, so I can wear those to work.
You can wear them anywhere, but
Well, yeah, it's true, but I tend to wear those socks,
right?
Those kind of socks to work because I like to wear colorful or decorative socks at work, and then I also got some Star Wars ones from Rock'em Socks.
Cool.
I think most of my other gifts were, I got RAM for the laptop, so it's a little better and a little faster.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, a new Blu-ray drive for the PlayStation, so I won't read DVDs. Practical things that I find a lot of fun, but listeners probably won't enjoy. New porch light.
Got a new porch light.
A new porch light.
Hey, it's got a dusk to dawn and an outlet built into it.
Oh, that's cool.
It's pretty good. Yeah. See? It's more than just a porch light.
Shall we talk about our gutters?
Light bulb.
I don't have to worry about that anymore. I got gutter guards.
Oh, when did that happen? I'm kidding. I'm really not that interested.
Well, what about you, Sean? What kind of geeky gifts did you get?
I got a couple of keychains. One is a little pewter. I don't know if it's actually pewter or not. It's some sort of metal of the Enterprise D from Star Trek, and the other one is kind of a flat with raised markings in the shape of the Millennium Falcon. But on the back, where the engine compartment would be in the little circles, that is all hollowed out, and it's it's got a hole in it for a bottle cap opener.
Oh, that's cool.
That is cool.
That's what I thought. I was like, I have not seen anything like that, so that's kind of cool. And then I was telling you earlier about my my very cool official bicycle brand Back to the Future cards, which have kind of a foil embossed back to them and some very cool stylized artwork on the front. And Mel and I have been playing hand and foot a lot this week, which has been great. Other than that, I'm kind of in the same boat. I got a little, I got some comfy pants. I got some, like a little, it's like a little floodlight, but it's motion activated, and they're LED, and they're designed to go inside as opposed to an outside for the yard thing. So we put them on the steps going down the stairs.
Oh, okay.
Oh, nice.
And then I was going, hey, this would be great in a closet. Y'all have that one closet where there's no light fixture or anything in there, and it's in the hall. I'm going to get some for that. Yeah, I'm all excited about that. So, yeah.
Here we are talking about lights again. We just can't get away from it.
We just can't get away with it. Oh, God, it's actually a light bulb. Oh, man. All together now. Light bulb.
Well, did you guys do anything else besides Christmas? You guys get anything watched recently?
We finished Archer, which is now done. And I have to say, I know the show is not to everybody's taste. I thoroughly enjoyed it. And the 3-part finale, I have to say, probably ranks up there as one of the most satisfying series conclusions I have ever seen. Everybody had a moment, lots of laughs, and as it barreled toward that kind of inevitable finale, but it did it in a way that was very accepting.
Yeah.
And, I'm like, well, I'm sad the show's gone, but man, that was the way to go out. So that was cool. And I listened to a couple of books. I don't know if I told you guys I started the Harry Dresden novels. And
okay.
They had those at the library on CD. So since we were in a holding pattern with our Doctor Who audios, I had to have something else in the car. So I listened to, and of course I'm not going to be able to remember the names of them now, but listened to the first one and thoroughly enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun and funny and witty, and Harry's a wizard, and all the things that go along with that. The second one was called Fool's Moon and dealt with werewolves and lycanthropes and loup-garou, which apparently are all different things, at least in this universe.
Sure.
And I'm about halfway through the third one, and he is being hunted by the ghost of a demon, which may or may not be controlled by the Vampiric Council. And I have to say, one of the things that I really appreciated about these books so far is that there is no mythology that is off limits. It is all welcome and probably going to be pissed at Harry over something. So that's been a lot of fun so far.
Very good.
I've heard those are good.
What about
I think
you,
you'd
Keith?
dig them.
We finished The Crown, which I know I'd been kind of on the season, but I think it ended fairly soon. It ended in a way that felt like a resolution, but also, they're not going to make more, but it felt incomplete just because, the story isn't over in general. Right. So I don't think there was a real concrete way to end the show the way they were doing things, just because you set up plot lines to because that's what's going on, and you just don't get to see them to fruition. Like William and Kate, so you kind of see their courtship a little bit, and then the show ends, and we know what happens, but we don't get to see what happens. So it's kind of a mixed bag a little bit, but still definitely worth checking out if you haven't seen that.
Yeah.
And then I read the novelization of The Giggle, which was really well done. James Goss did a phenomenal job adapting that, not only in adding additional stuff, but the structuring of how he did it was really clever.
When I saw that he was the one that wrote that one, I thought he was probably the perfect author for that.
Yeah, all the chapters are moves, and you get to like the section where they're running through all the hallways, and once they split up, it goes into a choose your own adventure style.
Oh wow!
Yeah, it's really clever.
So it's a game within a book.
Yeah, and there's even like certain chapters or moves are just like crossword puzzles, and a couple other different individual page type games that you can play. It's really, really cool, and part of it goes into from the toy maker's perspective while telling the story. It's all done so well. It's really good. Wow. It doesn't add a whole lot of depth to the story overall, but it just structurally it makes, I think, the story feel a little more even too than what the TV show had.
Well, I have them all loaded up on my Kindle, so I'm going to start them soon.
So such quick reads, real easy.
Something that we talked about last week. I'm all caught up now on Monarch: Legacy of Monsters. Sean, have you been watching that?
I have. I think we are about 2 or 3 episodes behind, though. We kind of fell behind with the holidays.
Yeah. Well, I just saw.
Yes, I've been thoroughly enjoying it.
I just saw last week's episode that came out, I think, on Friday. So just the other day. So, man, that show is so much fun. That is such a good show. And then I watched the season 2 of the Santa Clauses.
How was that? We haven't started it.
I think I enjoyed the first season better, but this one was fun. It was Eric Stone Street is kind of the antagonist in this, if you could call him an antagonist. But he's playing a version of an old Viking version of Santa Claus, which is fantastic. He steals the show in it, really. But yeah, it's a lot of fun. Like I said, I think I liked last season's better because conceptually it worked because of the direction they took it. This time it's almost like, okay, the whole family is, it's going to be a family business, and now it's the family dealing with the business, but it's almost like, okay, there was this ending last time of everybody's going to do something to help out, and now it's kind of like going through those motions of, is this really going to work? And so it takes a little while to get off the ground, but yeah, the dynamic ends up being pretty good.
They all say, who is Doctor Who?
This is Tim Trelaw.
This is David J. Howe.
I'm Peter Purvis.
I am Sadie Miller.
This is Lauren Cornelius.
Larry, it's Fraser.
For all things in the Doctor Who collecting world and beyond, the Doctor Who Collectors Podcast. I'm Larry Van Mersbergen, your host, and I've been collecting for 42 years. You're listening to Traveling the Vortex on the Direction Point Podcast Network.
Hi, I'm Rupert Booth.
I am known as Paul Ferry.
And my name is Barry Williams.
Together, we host Time Ram.
Time Ram's a cruel mistress.
It's a random number generator.
That also.
We roll a number from 1 to 13, and that's our doctor. Then 1 to 300 for the story, and then we ram them together.
Even if it doesn't make sense.
Cruel, I tell you.
Time Ram, putting the wrong doctors in the wrong stories, so you don't have to.
You're listening to Traveling the Vortex.
I did do one other thing, but that's going to be my something new 2-minute review. I got a chance to listen to, and this is a follow-up from Keith's review last week. He did Audacity. The follow-up, the most recent 8th Doctor adventure, is In the Bleak Midwinter, and it features Audacity and Charlie, and takes place, all 3 stories actually take place at Christmas time. The first story is really kind of cool. It's called 24 Doors in December by John Dorney, and it's done sort of Advent calendar style. Each of the characters will start with they'll read a date and then like an action or something or location or whatever, and then there'll be a piece of the story. And Charlie, Audacity, and the Doctor have decided to settle down in a house that the Doctor has in London, and for the month of December, and they're going to enjoy Christmas. And they're putting together kind of a charity event for kids that don't necessarily have, I guess, needy kids at Christmas, and they end up hiring a Santa Claus who is seeing apparitions of Audacity and Charlie and a little girl, and it's freaking him out, and he doesn't know what's going on. It all kind of comes ahead at the end, which I really enjoyed. It sets you up to think that maybe something else is happening, and then it kind of pulls the wool over your eyes and changes the direction. And so I kind of like the bait and switch they do at the end. The next one was called The Empty Man. This one wasn't near as strong, but written by Tim Foley. It's about a radio broadcaster. Kind of reminds me of an Edgar Allan Poe or a Vincent Price type, although he writes and reads his own stories out on the broadcast. And the weird thing about it is the Doctor thinks he should know who this guy is, but he doesn't. And so that kind of starts the mystery of it. The story kind of backtracks into how they encounter him, and it kind of fizzles at the end, I think, but not as strong of a story, but interesting concept. And then the last one is Winter the Demon, which has I don't want to say he's an inventor, but he's this guy who has unveiled a plan to revolutionize the city with electric light. But the source of the electric light is not necessarily what you'd think. And so the Doctor has to kind of discover the mystery. This one has more of an old classic Doctor Who feel for some reason. I can't quite put my finger on why. But it's a good thing. It's not bad. It's not a bad thing at all. But it's really an enjoyable story. All of the characters, again, and as they did on Audacity, they gel so well. They work well together as characters, and I really enjoy all 3 of them anytime they're on the scene. Audacity still tends to steal the show, though. She's so far still the best part of these stories. So, and that's my something new 2-minute review.
I listened to it all as well, and I don't have to concur with everything you said.
I feel bad that I'm kind of out of the loop on this one.
No, that's all right.
Listening to you guys talk about how great it is, and I'm like, that's cool.
After finishing Audacity, I did want to jump ahead and listen to the next one.
Just keep going. Yeah, I felt the same way. As soon as I finished Audacity, I was like, I'm going to go on. Of course, part
of that is because Audacity is such a great character so far.
I had decided to do Audacity, though, because I wanted to get to the Christmas stories. So
you were invited on an adventure across all of time and space, in a completely random order. It's the Police Box in the Junkyard podcast. Jump in the TARDIS with your hosts,
Eric Gulbranson, Asad Kheshki,
and
Matthew Kressel.
Explore Doctor Who TV stories, audio adventures, and books, both novels and non-fiction. The Police Box in the Junkyard podcast. It's the entire Whoniverse on shuffle. The Police Box in the Junkyard podcast is a member of the Direction Point Network and is available about once a month wherever you find your podcasts. You are listening to Traveling the Vortex.
We are going on a journey, a very long journey, through the world of the Target novelizations in publication order. Every week, we are looking at a new book, talking about Terrence Dicks, Malcolm Hulk, and all our Doctor Who novelization friends. Whatever you do, keep turning the pages. This is Jason Miller of the Doctor Who Literature Podcast, a member of the Direction Point Podcast Network, and you are listening to Traveling the Vortex, a Direction Point podcast.
All right, well, let's move on to the next bit, which is news.
A little bit of sad news. The actor Richard Franklin, who played Mikey Yates, has passed away at the age of 87. He died early on Christmas morning after a long illness.
Very sad.
Yeah, very.
Kind of a gut punch. I think I saw that late Christmas Day, I think it was. This is when I first saw the news of that. And I thought, oh, that's kind of a dour thing to happen on Christmas. I mean, it's a dour thing to happen any day, but Christmas is just that little edge of an extra gut punch.
And I don't know who you saw it from first, but I saw it from Katie Manning.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Who was
and
that?
I saw that like a couple days before she had gone to visit him and posted a picture. And then that day I saw another picture and a caption about him passing. I was like, oh.
I had posted
but no better person to hear it from.
I had posted it in Messenger to you guys, and I can't remember. I think maybe it was Chicago TARDIS that had announced it when I saw it. So,
Doctor Who's official Instagram later also did a post for him, which I thought was a nice touch.
That is nice.
He was the sweetest guy. Met him at, was it Galley? I think it was Galley.
Yeah, I think you're right. I never got a chance to meet him. He was there I think the second year you guys went without me.
Oh, go ahead and rub that in. It's not like I left you at home.
No. I didn't mean that.
You went without me.
The second year you went that I didn't go. I'm sorry.
Well, that's better.
Well, he will be missed.
Yes, he will.
Well, let's top that off with a little better news.
Something a little happier. We know now that the new season 1, will return May 2024.
Season 1.
And in the release, it says we also see an all-star lineup including returnees Yasmin Finney and Bonnie Langford, who will reprise their roles as Rose Noble and Mel Bush, as well as introducing Jinx Monsoon as the Doctor's most powerful enemy yet, Jonathan Groff in a mysterious key role, Indira Varma as the Duchess, and Lenny Rush as Morris, to name just a few. Mm-hmm. So only a few scant months to wait.
Yeah. Somebody pointed out there were a lot of people that were kind of lamenting the fact that it was, coming back in the spring, but it's coming back in late spring. And a lot of people were lamenting that, but somebody else pointed out on Twitter, I saw that, well, if you think about it, May is 5 months from now. So 5 months from now, we'll get Doctor Who, and May, they'll run into about July. And then after July, it'll be about 5 more months before the Christmas special. So then you only have to be waiting 5 months. So we're actually going to get smaller gaps between the episode or between the seasons or between Doctor Who. And so then if they continue that trend, you're only going to have to wait 5 months for Doctor Who each time for at least the next 3 seasons. So
that's a good point.
Yeah.
But that's so long.
Oh, we've gone longer, that's for sure.
No, yes, we have.
Well, I'm excited.
Yeah.
And if the Church on Ruby Road is any indication of what the series is going to be like, bring it on.
Hello, fellow time travelers, and welcome to the Doctor Who Target Book Club podcast, the only podcast to discuss, in story order, all the Doctor Who novelizations. My name is Tony Whitt, and every 2 weeks or so, I'm joined by a 2 to 3 person discussion panel, including our so-called expert who's been a Who fan since 1979. That would be me. We also get the views of intermediate, casual, and novice fans who either have never seen the show or who have never read these books until these podcasts, including
Dalton Hughes
and
Alison Fitz-Seyfried.
You can find us on iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, or wherever you find good podcasts, or even ones like ours. You're listening to Traveling the Vortex, a Direction Point podcast.
Well, let's jump into our review. Long ago on Christmas Eve, a baby was abandoned in the snow. Today, Ruby Sunday meets the doctor. Stolen babies, goblins, and perhaps the secret of her birth.
Bum, bum, bum.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'd give it a little more resounding bum, bum, bum. It's not Doctor Who that we're used to, though, and I like that. I think it's a refreshing take on the series, and I think it's something I have always been an apologist for the 13th Doctor. I've never felt that the stories were as bad as people have said. They weren't the greatest stories. There were some real good nuggets in there, but Doctor Who has had an element of doom or impending doom stories for a long time, where they don't feel as light and they don't feel as fun. There are light and fun moments, but it seems like since Capaldi started all the way up through Jodie, there's just been kind of this mood of Doctor Who. And not that it was a negative thing, but it was just a certain thing that we were kind of a mood we were in. This, including the specials, have completely changed that mood into something different. And not that these are like monumentally better than anything that's come before, but it's such a change of pace for the series that I think it's kind of the refresh that was needed.
Yeah, tonally, it almost has I think, similarity to Rose, also in its storytelling. You know, the fact that it's so much focused on Ruby as opposed to the Doctor, and he's in the background for so much of the first part of it until, you know, that awesome roof sequence. I mean, we get little sprinkles of him here and there, but I mean, we get the focus turned back on the companion where we did, you know, when the show came back however long ago that was. And I think combined with that and the tonal change, like you were talking about, that almost drops the baggage of everything that's coming before. Because it did, while the references are one thing, it does feel like this is a Doctor, as we saw at the end of The Giggle, that has let his trauma heal and is moving on to new adventures. And it hasn't felt like that, you're right, since Matt Smith. Matt Smith was that last, okay, here's new, but then we quickly went into, you know, heavy, you know, oh no, it's my death sort of situation, and dreading what's coming forward as opposed to being excited about it. So the fact that they're done this complete change of tone and the change of focus, at least for this episode, I think made it pretty strong. And that's what helps the story itself not be as strong, the plot and, you know, what's going on in the story, because it's focusing and setting up on the characters and setting up that new tone and establishing this new Doctor, that the framing that all of that is hanging on isn't quite as strong as other stories might be, or even other stories in the 60th run that we've had. But it's okay because it's all establishing those new aspects of the show.
Yeah, I think I agree. There has been, I don't want to say doom and gloom, but there's definitely kind of been a cloud hanging over Who for a while. And as I said pre-show, we watched The Snowmen, the Christmas special.
Talk about a moody Doctor.
Oh man, I had forgotten just how grumpy and brooding, and it kind of took me a minute. It was like, oh yeah, he's, you know, still,
he's just lost his best friend.
Yeah, he's lost over the ponds. And so that was a thing. And when you you look at it, especially kind of that moment where we lose Amy and Rory, and then we've got Clara with the impossibleness, and then we've got the death, and then we've got, well, we got out of it. And now he is kind of a grumpy old man with Capaldi and more alien and going through that kind of routine and building up to the, the inevitable there. And then the Flux story arc with Jodie. It's been kind of dark for a while. There have been some very massive
heavy themes, very heavy
themes.
Yeah.
And so when at the end of the giggle, when he said that, we're doing the therapy out of order, I'm okay because you'll get okay. And just what a cool concept that was. But then to actually see it. And, I think we're going to have a lot of comparisons to Matt Smith with Shudigawa because he has that kind of very high energy, excited for life, bouncing off the wall.
Childlike wonder,
and a lot of that. But whereas with Matt Smith, it was very childlike wonder and kind of dumbfounded excitement over, ooh, this is something new and I don't know what's going on and how cool is that? Let's go find out. Shooty kind of exhibits this, yeah, okay, cool. Like, it doesn't faze him. Like, if he didn't find out, he'd have been okay. If he does find out, he'll still be okay. I mean, it's hard to put my finger on yet.
But he's kind of dropped that wanting to know it all sort of situation of being flummoxed that, well, there's something I don't know. What do you mean?
Yeah.
He's more to go with the flow of, I don't know what this is. That's awesome. I want to learn about it.
Yep.
And the same holds true for the companion auditioning. So previously, when the Doctor is auditioning for a companion, there's almost a mental list. There's a checklist. And you can see him crossing like, okay, so are you going to ask a question? Or are you, how's your scream? Are you going to annoy me? It's like a job interview. And it's all going on in his head behind his eyes. And with Shooty, as the adventure unfolded with Ruby, he didn't seem to be taking stock of her necessarily, because he instantly cued into the fact that while she asked questions, she didn't necessarily ask the redundant, this can't be happening, oh my God, what is the thing? It was just, goblins? Okay, what do we do now? Yeah. I mean, she was just on board with it from the get-go. And I think kind of instantly he was like, yeah, even though he was poking fun at her on the roof, who sees a ladder and just thinks, yeah, I'll have a go at that. Even though he's poking fun at her, I think he knew then. Anybody who was willing to jump on a floating ladder in the middle of the sky up on a roof is somebody I'd like to hang out with.
Right.
Oh, yeah, she passed her audition right there.
Immediately she has that sense of heroics.
So all of that was quite very cool. The plot itself, I mean, it's a Christmas story, so it's got to be big and outlandish and ridiculous, and it was. It reminded me a lot, honestly, of Smith and Jones, where we kind of get a lot of setup for Martha as a companion, and the Doctor, at least initially, is there and then gone and not really in it, and then begins to have a more prominent role. And there's even a little bit of timey-wiminess in that one. It's the tie, and in this one it's the, I'm going to go back and check and see what's going on here. So I think structurally it felt a little familiar. And while it was fun and, Christmas, I love Shudigawa. I can say that already off the bat. What's the actress's name that plays Ruby?
Millie
Gibson.
Millie Gibson. I love Millie Gibson. I think she's going to be fantastic. I think my jury is still out on the character of Ruby, at least a little bit. And not that I think she's going to be bad at all, just that I still feel like I don't know enough about her to be emotionally invested in her, because this episode did so much exposition and so much verbal vomit of here's what's going on, blah, 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 of all this kind of stuff. That you just kind of got swept up in it and, carried along, and then it ended and it was like, okay. So while she showed a lot of agency in her moments, and we got a huge chunk of backstory about, okay, she's adopted, she lives with his family, they do foster stuff. And, they really kind of built that ground floor with all of that. But I still feel like I don't really know who she is.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
So I think that's kind of where
I could see that. We definitely learned her history and her backstory, and it's a very complex, and I think this is where the weight of the story comes from. I mean, shedding a light on the foster care aspect of society and how some families are out there that will get a baby on Christmas Eve and be happy about it. I think that's a great showcase of what can be done in the world to help kids when they need it the most, and having Ruby go through that and be adopted, I think is all really good stuff, and an interesting backstory for her. But I think I can see what you're saying about we really don't know much about her yet and what she likes, because so much of what we know and what she displayed is her history, and obviously her parents, and if it's the same person, the lady who dropped off, or the person in the cloak who dropped her off at the church, are going to play a huge role in the show to come.
Well, that's what I was going to say, is I think that's mostly calculated. I think the reason why we got a lot of her history but not a lot of her character is the fact that that's what's going to be explored, at least in this first season. And I think because of the fact that we've got this mystery woman that's dropped her off, we've got the fact that Davina McCall couldn't come up with, her ancestry or her where she was from, couldn't find her parents. And from my understanding, Davina McCall, who's actually a real person that does a show that does that, the track record's pretty good. So to not be able to find Ruby Sunday's parents is kind of going to be, that's kind of a tough thing. But so I think that was calculated. I think the reason though why they did that is because there's going to be a lot of that building in the next season.
I do think we did learn a decent, I mean, maybe not so much in their talking, but by her actions, we learned enough, at least for me, enough about Ruby to like her, of the fact that she is willing to climb up there and chase after the goblins to try to get the baby back, and has that sense of responsibility and sense of excitement of, I'm going to go do what I need to do because I got to go save this baby. I mean, there's some people who would just sit around and go, oh no, it's been taken, oh no, and she's obviously not that kind of person. So that tells us quite a bit about her as a character besides her backstory.
I think what else tells us a lot about her character is when the goblins, when they go back to take her as a baby and the timeline changes around the doctor and around the family, not knowing her, not remembering her. A lot is said in the way that their lives are different from the way their lives were when Ruby was around. And
how much more sad their life is. Their life is nowhere near be.
Exactly. And so I think that in itself did a lot to paint a picture of what type of person, what sort of influence Ruby has been on other people's lives as well. And I thought that was really, really well done. Really well crafted.
Agreed. Very much a kind of It's a Wonderful Life moment. You see how many lives one person touches.
Mm-hmm.
And I really like that the fact that once he goes back and fixes it, the crack is then back in the roof.
Right.
I thought I was a little worried there for a minute that it's now just a quick, easy fix again.
Right.
Like we had.
Like the street in the Starbucks.
Like the street was again. And the fact that, no, it wasn't that. It was time was rewriting itself to take her out of the equation. And then when she's back, the crack is back, and it's still a problem they have to deal with. I thought that was very nicely done.
They don't deal with. They leave.
No.
Both of them leave so that mom has to deal with the draft with a new
on
baby
Christmas
in the house. With a sick mother and a baby in the house.
And Cherry was fantastic. I absolutely loved her as a character.
Get her some tea.
Right.
Please get the woman some tea. What do you think of the Goblins aspect? The fantastical nature of this show, which I will say I'm accepting it wholeheartedly. It is one of those things that I think Sean and I especially have talked about in the past, where we kind of want that scientific explanation for our Doctor Who. But I think what has done it for me is just that that one little element from Wild Blue Yonder, where the Doctor makes the point that he's invoked superstition at the edge of the universe, and that could allow this sort of stuff to come in. And I think that's kind of what's opened the door for what we're going to see coming this season. And I think we're going to see a lot more fantasy. Well, I think Russell T. Davies has even said we're going to see more fantasy elements to Doctor Who. And I think I'm ready for that. I think I'm kind of welcoming that because I've got enough of an explanation for why it has happened. And so I'm going to be a lot more accepting as these kind of fantastical things happen. So I absolutely was on board with these Goblins. I loved it. He obviously ripped a lot of this idea from, there's a little bit of Wonderful Life in there. There's obviously a little bit of Labyrinth in there. Mm-hmm. But I thought the Goblins was a neat thing. They didn't have to be a mystery to solve. They were, but they didn't have to be this real deep mystery. The Doctor just kind of accepts that they're there. He doesn't necessarily, doctors in the past would have tried to figure out where they came from, why they're here, what's their, what's the motivation of. No, it's just goblins that take and steal babies and eat them. There's just simply that. The Doctor's willing to accept that and figure out how to, fix this situation. So I liked that about it as well.
Yeah, and I was okay with it because, since they didn't delve into the history of the Goblins, we don't know if they're mythical or if they're actually aliens that just have come and like to eat babies from Earth. We don't know anything about the Goblins other than that they gobble things up, which I had never put two and two together on that as far as the name goes. And now I can't unhear it. It makes total sense. They're called Goblins because they gobble things up. Wow.
Jareth has really let himself go.
Yeah, really?
No, I agree with you. I think the fantasy element, we haven't really had a heavy influence of it. And not even so much fantasy, but certainly the Matt Smith years felt a little more fairy tale.
Yeah.
And so I think, and I don't know, is it a coincidence that we're going into the full fantasy now that Disney is involved? I don't know, maybe.
I think that's a bit of a stretch of a connection. RTD has already come out and said that because of the toy maker, he felt like he could go this direction.
Yeah, and I think it's coincidental because I don't think they had finalized the Disney stuff before he even started mapping out the season. Or the series for the next few years. So I think he probably already had it in mind. It's just coincidental that it's landed on Disney at this time as well. Probably was the element that sold it to Disney, maybe. Maybe he came into it and they looked at it and said, "Oh, this is kind of in our wheelhouse." So,
although, did you see that Disney was able to provide some feedback on this episode, and they made some changes in according to it?
Oh, I did not see that.
Yeah, apparently the original cut of the episode didn't have the Doctor in the beginning as quite as much, and so the entire scene with that police officer outside the TARDIS about his fiance saying yes, RTD added it so that there was more Doctor in the beginning part.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
but apparently it's only apparently it's only also a first episode sort of feedback that they look at and go, maybe this.
Yeah.
Okay, you're good after that.
Well, and I think that sometimes you think, I can't stand when the bigwigs come in and meddle, but I can see from their perspective of we're introducing a whole new audience to this show. And this is probably we're going, from a perspective of overseas and non-fans, people already know enough about this from other areas of fandom and other areas of the world. But here with a new audience on Disney Plus, you're going to have to introduce the Doctor to me a little bit sooner. And I think they could see that. And so I kind of respect that.
Well, and even still, as fans, we don't know this Doctor yet, so we want to see this Doctor. And it tells us a little bit more about this Doctor. The fact that he could turn around and tell this guy these things and would take the time to do that in this situation, I think speaks a lot to his characterization.
Yeah.
And felt a little bit like the 8th Doctor to me.
Yeah, I think you're right. That's a good point.
From the movie.
It's very, very much Eighth Doctor.
Yeah.
Answer the second essay question.
Yeah,
not
see?
the third. It'll look easier, but it isn't. It's a trap. The best thing, and I'm very happy that I'm the one to get to talk about it. Nobody's brought it up yet, so I'm going to pounce on it. Is mass-defying gloves.
The intelligent gloves.
All the mass and density and mavity exists in the glove. I cheered.
Yeah, I think mavity's going to be around for a while.
Yeah.
And first of all, what a cool... This is like psychic paper. This is the stuff that instead of, inventing something that's going to allow you to assemble cabinets late at night, this is the kind of thing you need to be working on. Because in your job, you do a lot of running and you do a lot of hanging. And yes, something that would take the weight off your hands and allow you to just, that's genius. Mm-hmm. This is the psychic paper of this era.
And I love the fact that they don't even look fancy. They're literally just black gloves that have this light up in the fingers. Mm-hmm. It's still so intrinsically Doctor Who in the basic, simplistic version of the technology that you can have, because it's not some shiny, Disney sort of fancy glove that they would then turn around and try to sell. They're normal black gloves that a kid could go and try to pretend they have at home.
Yep.
It's so great. It's very clever.
I like the fact that we haven't thrown aside, though, the sonic screwdriver or the psychic papers. They've just we've added to the arsenal of gadgets that the Doctor will be using.
Matt Smith would have had a power glove.
Yeah,
like a Nintendo, literally a Nintendo Power Glove with some doodads stuck on it.
And it's obviously something he's going to need. And the fact that they can run out of charge still gives the show some drama.
Yes.
That it could not work at some point if we ever need them not to.
It adds just that edge.
Where's your intelligent gloves? Oh, they're charging.
Yeah, it adds just that edge of realism to it as well, which I kind of like.
Yeah.
And they died quickly.
Mm-hmm.
We got to climb one ladder, and it was like, 3%. I better put them on. I mean, this is like a canine charge. It was like,
Now, I don't know about you guys, but I had been watching the music video, which is basically lifted straight from this story, and have actually fallen in love with the Goblin song. I think even within the context of the episode, I think it worked really well. I don't think I want to see
it's even
them
better within the context.
Yeah, I don't think I want to see them doing musical numbers all season long, but I think in certain situations it works. And I think that I was taken aback a little bit when the Doctor started singing and then bringing Ruby in.
'Cause the Goblin King, the Goblin King, it's so good to meet you, you great big thing. I can see you're having a fun day. Meet my friend, she's Ruby Sunday.
You, good to greet you, good to say how diddly-deet you. It's my birthday, my oh my. I'm 50 miles up in the sky. The Goblins, you can go to hell, 'cause you're not eating Lulu Bell.
But it made sense in a way because it's how he's communicating on their level, because that's something that's their thing. And so he's able to communicate and distract because he's already concocting this plan. In fact, he brings Ruby in not to just, have her have a verse, but also because he's working out the rope.
Me and Bruce, we got just one hope. If I have understood that rope, 'cause stuck up there when things got hard. I think I found the master knot. The master knot has been undone. That's when we start having fun.
And so I thought that was really cool. Not to mention, it's not the lyrics there. The lyrics that Janice Goblin sings are very crafted. They're very well rounded. They're saying what's happening, but it's very descriptive of what's happening, but it's very cohesive. When the Doctor and Ruby start singing, it's almost as though they're having to make it up on the fly. And I like that their words weren't as crafted as Janice's, because it makes more sense that, we're having to come up with these words. So it really kind of on that edge of, it's good quality, but it sounds like it's, being improvised. And I like that they did that.
Well, and they smartly also had Ruby established as some sort of musical background to her, because she's in that club playing with the band. So it's also not without the realm of possibility that she could start improvising some lyrics, or sing along to something that she's heard. I mean, it totally makes sense within her character as well.
So there's a few things that were left behind here. First of all, we've got the mysterious... we're setting up mysteries for, I think, the rest of the series. But we've got the mysterious woman that dropped off Ruby at the church. Do we have any predictions of who that might be? I know I've heard some people say that she has the short pants and the Jody shoes. I don't think it's the 13th Doctor dropping her off. That would be kind of cool, but I don't think they're going to go that direction with it. I did appreciate the fact that we still have not just glossed over any of the 13th Doctor's era and that timeless child idea, and the fact that it's being addressed still. Yeah, I was adopted, I just found out. But not heavy-handedly. He's not trying hard to continue that story, but he's also trying very hard not to drop it, and I like that. I think that's well done. So we've got the mystery.
And he's handling it in a way unlike the previous Doctors would have, where they would have been, oh no, me, I just found out I was adopted, and it's just, I found out I was adopted recently.
Right, just kind of matter of fact.
He acted a little sad about it, but he was also matter of fact at the same time. It wasn't a big thing.
Right. Well, we've got
to be just to be clear, it's not so much the adoption that he would have been theoretically upset about. It's I was, abandoned.
Oh,
the abandonment.
Probably the more of just found out about it part of it.
Just to be clear.
Yes.
Now, admittedly, the quote unquote adoptive parent for the timeless child.
That's a whole other can.
A little more toxic.
we got to get some child services on Gallifrey involved in that one, but
this one, that one was no Carla Sunday.
Definitely not.
But back to my original question. Do you guys have any speculation who this woman might be?
I have one, but I'm going to save it for your next question.
Okay.
Oh, okay. I love the idea that it's Jodie based on short pants. I just, not that I think it is, but that people are making that leap because there's only one person in the entire universe with a fashion sense that bad to wear those short pants. Yeah, sure.
In winter.
I love the people who are going, oh, it's Ruby, that she's going to wind up rescuing herself at some point and take her to church. I've seen the Ronnie. I've seen, and it's like,
I've seen the Master as well.
Maybe it was just a good Samaritan, guys.
I think that I think I'm on board with it could possibly be Ruby rescuing herself. I think that is something that I could see Russell T Davies kind of feeling like that's clever, bringing it back around. So I think right now I'm on board with that theory, but I'm not 100% behind it.
I'm going to go with the Last Jedi thought that she's nobody.
She's nobody.
She's nobody. She's just some person that picked her up and took her to the church. Said, I found this.
Well, I'll move on to our next one because they introduced the character Mrs. Flood. And Mrs. Flood breaks the fourth wall for the first time since, the first Doctor, I think. And so there's a lot of people, of course, speculating who this might be. What are some of your guys' thoughts on this?
I'm not sure who she is, but I think she is the woman in the cloak dropping off Ruby.
Yeah. I've seen that speculated. There's obviously been the people out there that have said it's River Song. I don't think that's even going to be the case because River's story has played out. They have done River. I don't see them bringing her back. A lot of people have said it could be Susan. I think since the actress is still alive and willing to come back, I think that Caroline Ford would be a disservice not to have her be on the show as herself before turning that character over to another actor or actress. And so I don't think that they're going to go that route either. I have seen probably the biggest one going is the Ronnie. That seems a little like something Russell T. Davies might do, but also it seems a little too obvious at this point. So I'm not sure that that's the case either. What do you guys think? Well, you said Keith. What do you think, Sean?
I think the key factor here is the breaking the fourth wall. It seems just kind of on the surface that it's a cute wink and a nod. And haven't you seen a TARDIS before? And that's the part that everybody's, and focusing on that. The character broke the fourth wall and addressed the audience directly. That, to me, is the clue and says that this character is somebody with immense power. Mm-hmm. It's not a regular old Time Lord. It's not a regular old villain. I could see it being the toy maker in another form. I could see it being somebody we've not been introduced to yet that has also come over from outside the edge of the universe.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm inclined to think. Someone we haven't met yet.
Mm-hmm.
And because there's one thing, there's something to be said for, we want to see the Ronnie. We want to see this. We want to see. I mean, I want to see him too. Don't get me wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But you're essentially relaunching the show on a new network, trying to get new viewers. You got to do new things. If you continually throw up, these are the previous baddies, you're going to lose that new audience because they're going to feel like they have to invest in 60 years of Who.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the toy maker was probably, here it is. Here's your, the bone we're going to throw you for the season. And I think everything else is going to be new with maybe the occasional, cameo from somebody previously. But
also, I think that we have to think back to there was the one that the toy maker ran from. So there obviously was somebody out there that even intimidated, or the toy maker wasn't willing to go up against. So there's still that element out there that this could play into what this is based on kind of how you've explained it, that they've somebody powerful enough to be able to break the fourth wall.
And I think this is also the boss that the Meep referred to.
Yeah, could be.
Well, and he also mentioned my horde. Obviously, I don't think the goblin or the legions were coming. Yeah, I don't think the goblins were the legions. So I think it was more generic. I have enemy or allies that are going to be coming in from all different sides. So Mrs. Flood could easily be one of those among his legion that fits the bill.
That's true.
I kind of hope the legions are going to be next year's Christmas special, and it's just going to be an army of tin soldiers.
An Iron Legion?
Oh!
He's done it once.
Had not entertained that thought until just now. Oh, I've got goosebumps.
Yeah, I think we're hoping a little too high, but okay.
Yeah.
But if he was going to do it, saving that up for another holiday special, that would be the time to do it.
That's how you get away with it.
I think that might have been why he was so insistent to start it with the 60th anniversary specials and hand it off to Disney with that setup in order to go into the first, quote unquote, first season of Doctor Who, because a lot of that those threads that he's set up in that 3 parts of a special, or 3 specials, are going to, I think there were a lot of hints and keys in all of this lead up to the next season. So we'll see where it goes.
And I really think Mavity is going to wind up being more than just a running gag.
Yeah, could be.
Well, it's showcasing, at least as of right now, the splintered multiverse timeline idea, which is not something that we've really had a lot of in Doctor Who before.
Not in the show proper.
Not in the show proper.
Yeah.
But the idea that, we changed something and now the universe has skewed into this new tangent where all this is going on, but the old universe still exists. So I think that could be something that is going to be played with down the road.
Yeah.
Well, let's wrap up. What final thoughts do we have on the Church on Ruby Road?
I really liked it. I'm looking forward to more of Shooty's Doctor, and actually looking forward to watching this one.
I agree. I think that this really, I fell in love with Shooty in The Giggle, but I think this one is the one that really cements my love for the character and how he's playing the Doctor and how he'll continue to carry the Doctor through into the next, few seasons. And I'm really excited to see what we can do with it. And I'm completely on board with Ruby Sunday. I think she is a terrific character. I think somebody said it best, and I guess I suppose depending on how you feel about these past companions, but somebody said it best that if Rose and Clara had a baby, it would be Ruby Sunday.
Yep. That is definitely what it would be.
That is not inaccurate.
Sean, what about you? Final thoughts?
I really enjoyed it. As I said, I'm totally on board with the new rendition of the Doctor. I think Shooty's going to be fantastic. I'm very excited to see where we go with Ruby. I hope that she's not just a plot device. Echoes of Clara there, but just kind of thrilled with the new direction. If we're ranking things, I would probably say this one for me is the weakest of the 4 specials, but not that that's necessarily bad. It's just that I enjoyed the other 3 so much more. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a very close separation.
Well, I think part of what those previous 3, at least for me, it was comfort food.
Yeah.
And this is something new and different.
So
yeah, that's true too.
And I think it's fair because I think there was a lot at stake in the 3 previous specials, and there was we were tying up some loose threads. We were tying up some the last series, and we also had to make it really epic because it is the 60th anniversary, and I really felt like there was a lot going for it. This one takes the tone of a Christmas special. And I think it in turn works for it. And I think that's why it probably lands there with you, because it doesn't take itself as seriously as those specials did, or didn't feel like it was carrying as much weight or needed to carry as much weight as those specials did. And so it kind of lands in this other area that isn't necessarily even maybe comparable to those 3. And so I can see why that would be.
Yeah, it's, not only a Christmas special, which kind of, they have their own language with, certainly under RTD, but it's also kind of still a post-regeneration story. I mean, I guess don't really know how much time has passed from, when he left.
Wouldn't it be a post-bi-generation story?
A post-bi-generation. And as we all know, those can be a little wonky, so...
All right, Sean, what do we got coming up on the schedule?
Well, new year.
Yay.
We roll into 2024.
New year and old Who.
No new Who. So we're going to go back to some old Who. We're going to continue with our exploration of season 6B. This will be following on now from the second Doctor's appearance in the Two Doctors. So we've kind of caught up to that benchmark with some Big Finish audios and short stories. And then we're going to look at, I'm so happy, a return to the Eighth Doctor Adventures.
We're returning, yay!
Where we had last left off in Series 4. So we'll be going back for some more McGann. And then we have, some books and, the usual assortment of goodies for you that are coming up.
Lots of fun stuff for the new year. Well, of course, you can find this all at our website, travelingthevortex.com. If you get any value out of the podcast, why not consider putting some value back into it? You can do that by clicking on that Patreon link on our website and support us there. And when you do that, you can unlock more audios and specials from us. And if you could even give just $1 a month, it would help keep us going here at Traveling the Vortex. Also, consider giving us a 5-star review wherever you subscribe to this podcast. Anything else we need to chat about before we close this one? If not, until next time, I'm Glenn.
I'm Sean.
I'm Keith.
Cheers.
Good night, everybody.
Be seeing you.
Thanks for listening.
You have been listening to Traveling the Vortex. Doctor Who and all of its associated programs are owned and trademarked by the BBC. No infringement is intended or implied.
Direction point! Direction point!
A Doctor Who podcast network.